Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I am the player who plays as the King Under the Mountain, who is renamed because of going into a non-roleplay season to the Witch King Under the Mountain, and this is my hour. This is the first of a series of episodes around this new season. I'm hoping it's going to be a good season, and it is the brand new Kings of Men server. So it has all the new march systems, all the new tile taking abilities, flying units, colossal units, weird and wonderful stuff, which hopefully I'm going to talk through in this video. And it's also got the new interface, and we're going to probably go through that a little bit. Also, we're going to open some mathoms. We're going to show some formations. We're going to show maybe some pitfalls. We're going to show some mistakes. And hopefully I'm going to try and address farming early season. Just to sort of give a little update on the season so far. It is day 4, I think, to my knowledge. We are on chapter 4. And from a personal production point of view, we're doing okay. So there are some pretty big whale accounts in this server. I am ahead of some of them in this. Don't get me wrong, my gear is okay, so I can't really complain too much. But I'm currently 7th in personal production. I could probably have pushed that a little bit higher, but I'm currently focusing on building. We are in a season with a fellow streamer, I guess, who's got a few more viewers than me currently, but we are in with Bank and Debt, which of course is all things Middle-earth fan sort of clan. And we are in Dobby, not to be confused with the elf from Harry Potter, but it is a mixture of Doom and my old fellowship to be, who have obviously gone round and made one fellowship because of the way the game's gone, and people have sadly quit because of 2.0. We will be teamed up with Axed in this season, so actually it's looking pretty good. Like, there's 2 very big players in the server, or at least 2 very big farmers. There's a few other good fellowships knocking around, like Echo and Meat and LGFS and SPQR, and I'm sure some of these guys down here, like Lost, I've heard of before, in June. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if this is the original Pest, because I'm sure they sort of went with someone else, but if anyone knows, let me know. I've been as high as 4th in this production so far. I will try and get on to explaining easy ways of farming where you don't lose too many troops. As far as building wise goes, considering it's day 4, we have Main Hall 8. We're currently saving for Main Hall 9. Barracks 14. Conscription Post 14. We've got Military Academy 6 already, so 7 is currently cooking. We've got Numenorian Quarters 8. We've got some Tower Guards that we aren't using. We've got some Cataphracts and some Knights, of course, which we will be using because we always love Knights and we should always use Knights. I haven't really used any evil troops to this point because I suppose being predominantly a good side player, over the years I've kind of just got used to using what I know, so Cataphracts and Knights are pretty much the way forward with the way the meta is in 2.0 at the moment in regards to medium units for farming and sort of battling seems to be about right. I'll just collect some points. This is, again, the new interface. So, this little red flashing dot has been the pain of everyone's life in the last few days, and I will come up to this in the tips and potential problems in the King of Men season, which perhaps they haven't thought about in the new marching system. Which I suppose they probably have thought about it, but it won't matter so much in other seasons, but it's quite important in this season until you make a kingdom. So that red dot basically means someone is walking near one of your armies or one of your tiles. I currently only have 1 formation out of my keep, and it is waiting here to wait for a fellowship fortress. Now, you may think this is a little bit weird because you can now move pretty much anywhere on the map, providing you've got crosses and those sort of things attached to it, so you can go anywhere you like. These kind of passes, though, cause serious issues And the reason why we are here with no Fellowship Fortress is because it took us nearly 2 days to get to the last Fellowship Fortress, some of us, because if your line crosses with someone else, even if you're potentially going to be allies with them, but if they are red at this current time, you will fight them. And if you're only sending one unit, you will probably die. So, to come into the stupidity of this was my path for earlier on, and this was someone else's path for trying to go to a different keep. There's one, because they'd actually got troops on. Again, same problem with a random player, where unfortunately when the lines go past each other and two go round. I actually won this battle earlier on because they ran into my secondary formation. So basically, if say you were marching this way and someone's marching this way and you collide on this tile, you will fight under the new marching rules. Now, this has caused us so many problems that we actually had to let Axt take a keep on their own the other day, because we couldn't physically both get to the keep due to having to take crossings for each other to get past, or we were killing each other's siege basically. It was an absolute disaster, so we've had to start working at different sides of the map. I would probably suggest that if you are looking to go into someone with an ally in a King of Men season at the moment, I don't know whether this will be fixed or not, because in theory, until you're a kingdom, you are enemies, I guess. It won't matter so much in other seasons where you're a faction, it'll be purple, you won't attack each other unless you're betrayed. But I would guess you probably look at starting in different parts of the map, which is I think what Det and Bank did actually quite successfully. So one started in the east and one started in Iron Hills, and they haven't really ran into each other. So in these servers that are a little bit more empty at the moment, it might be a good idea to look at starting in two different areas. Whereas what we are going to form as a kingdom both started in White Mountains, which has sort of caused problems for farming a little bit, and it's also caused problems where we've just literally killed each other for no real reason. Pretty sure some people have done it on purpose, but that was just a touch on that. However, I have got to where the Fellowship Fortress will be eventually, which is handy. Other little changes are, as you can see from the interface now, it's alright actually once you get used to it, but things have just moved around. Like the season button's no longer at the top. You now don't get the little pop-up icon to say that you need to help someone. It just flashes a little bit. And then it will appear here, or you can press the book and you can press help. Which is a shame. I will boost while I'm in here because I am notoriously bad for not boosting. And there we go. So from a season update point of view, just to very briefly touch on it, because I know I've sort of just gone across the map. We have taken one keep in this region thanks to Axt. We're looking to probably take another one later on, and Bank and Depth I think are at 3 keeps now on this side of the map, to be fair to them. So they've been pretty busy and done really well. I don't really like the way the new map looks, to be honest. It's pretty annoying because it's quite hard to find what you actually want from the map. Like, keeps don't appear. It's just a bit messy. I think it probably just needs a clean up, but in general, there's the flashing symbol, by the way, for Fellowship, which means there is someone to help. That was a good example. And yeah, so we're probably a little bit behind, and it's through our own fault, really. So we've sort of focused on farming. Just to show you how marching now works, so in a here's one I made earlier kind of way. I'm starting to look at taking 230 power tiles now. Partly because there isn't really any 200s left. So I will look at this to take in a second, and I'll march there because I've got one tile free while we're on. I will make sure my gear's on the right commanders because, as I'll show you in a moment, I have failed miserably at that throughout farming. Difference here is you now have March, which allows you to just travel to the tile and not take it, and you have Occupy, which means you will try and take the tile. In this case, we do want to take the tile. I'm going to want to definitely put some troops on Gandalf before I go anywhere. So I'll do that. Now, because of the way the dynamics work now, I won't be filling up many of these lines to the fullest. So he is my tank in this formation, so he will have full troops. Scalhelm will have about 260. Dane will have similar. And Bjorn will have a few more because he seems to like to kill troops. And I'll probably go into that later on when I look at a few reports. Just because of the way I know this formation works, I will explain a bit better later on, but I just wanted to set off on this march before I go anywhere. So, as it's a pretty long one. So it gives you options now. It says recommended, or you can take shortest, but there will be blocked land on the shortest distance, which is a bit of a pain, but it allows you to see which tiles as a fellowship you need to take. So I can go and view that, for example. And if I wanted to take the shortest route, I can't because I've got to get through there and I'd have to take that tile. So we'll come back to this again. We'll go to occupy and we'll go to recommended and we will set off. And we'll just make sure we've actually got gear on because, as I'll show you in a minute, in my stupidity folder, this morning I didn't do very well with that. What I will say is the game's tried to give back some kind of life game balance, which, you know, there's no longer a need to have linked tiles. You can take any tile in your fort radius. You can move anywhere on the map as long as there's crossings connecting you to there. Don't really feel like there's any need for this dramatic music for a 9-minute march, but there you go. So they've tried to give a little bit back. The only issue with that is that I found with the way this now works and formations and things like that is that I tend to forget to swap gear over to my second formation or to my first formation sometimes, because I can kind of just set something off to march and I can walk away. So in this formation at the moment, I will go into gear properly shortly, but I feel like I'm kind of just explaining now, so everyone in that formation has got gear currently. But yeah, earlier on I tried to take a 230 and I put it in my own little stupidity folder here, and yeah, this happened, and this has happened to me now about 3 or 4 times where I've been doing something in real life, and whereas normally I'd probably concentrate on the game a little bit more, but I don't feel I need to now because I'm just marching. There's no need to tile to the next tile, you just go and take it, which is quite nice. But yeah, it does mean that occasionally you do forget to put any troops or any clothes or equipment or whatever you want to call it on people. So you've got Dane walking around naked, and I know Bjorn's already half naked, but kind of taking the biscuit here. So yeah, that didn't go so well, and that put me back a little bit this morning. Okay, so I'm just going to talk through my 2 formations, and that will kind of lead into gear. This is sort of how I foresee the best way of getting value for your account is. So bear with me because I probably won't explain this very well, but I hope I do. So my first formation is Gandalf the White, Dane, Bjorn and Scalhelm. Now, there's a couple of schools of thought on this. Some people say you need 2 support. Some people say 3 damage. Some people say a troop buffer. Some people say someone who's really defending and keeping people alive. Sustain commanders, those kind of things. From what I've found, because I am not top level whale in my account, I've found that to fight people of either a higher level or a similar level to me, and I've found the same for people who've got slightly smaller accounts versus those people, the 3 damage approach works better in my opinion than, say, having Gil in that formation than Scalhelm. So I chose Scalhelm because I wanted some focus damage, because I think it's quite nice. You can get through some some quite tough defense, and she actually puts out quite a lot of damage, which I was quite surprised at. Similar to the levels of Bjorn and Dane, and obviously these three here are pretty much known as the meta, and you could mix a little bit of Sauron in there as well, I guess, which is arguably the best non-roleplay formation you can have. I'm trying to run two formations to allow me to fight a little bit more, to allow me to just be a little bit less restricted because of a couple of the things that they've introduced, and I'll go through that when I go into farming and some mechanics a little bit later on. So I purposely made my gear based around trying to get two formations out. So I chose my commanders and my gears quite carefully to try and make two competitive formations. And that's how I would say you get the best value for your account. So if you can... how can I explain that? So if you can think of 8 commanders in your head where you've got a 4 and a 4 and you can swap the gear straight over onto the other ones, I think that's the best situation for your account. If you're a super whale or whatever you might be, or Kraken, obviously you're going to have more gear. But I think from a mid-range player point of view, it's best to have one full gear set for 8 commanders which you switch over, and if you forget sometimes like me, so be it. But I ran the protection set fortitude set on this just because I think against the current meta the minus 10% damage is pretty good. I will get a couple more uniques, but I don't really feel the need to strengthen them up too much, particularly Glamdring. I probably will strengthen Danes over time. So just to try and explain, this set is sort of a hybrid focus and command set with a little bit of initiative, so hopefully I can counter some Saurons. I won't counter many, but so they're not trying to steal a white council off me. But it's kind of like a mix, and it's not for damage, hence why my accessory and my weapon are not damage stats on them. So that goes on to Sauron. Dane's gear is probably a little bit light on attack, and I'll try and explain this in some reports later on. Some people just say load attack, load attack, load attack, load attack, and I think if you are genuinely mid-range or Dolphin level player, I think load and attack is probably the best, so you can take as much chunks out of whales as you can. I think as you go up beyond that, troop defense becomes a little bit more important. So there's kind of a soft cap on attack at around 200. So in combat here, I'm at about 183, and that will go up to just over 200 roughly with the ring and a few other things during the season. And I use it because I get this unit defense, which it keeps the troops alive longer, which I feel allows Dane to do more damage, particularly with my gear not being sort of top level. He uses the drums of Barad-dûr, and he uses the golden skin, one because there's a little bit of troop defense, also because there's some attack. I think it's actually the best piece for attack, barring the one that makes people look like a Buddha is how I imagine a Buddha to do something. Berserker's raiment, where you've just got like Dane with his got out, it's just not for me. And I use these two pieces because he trades this set with Gimli in my second formation, so it allows Gimli to get 50 focus in case I'm running into some gills. Bjorn, I'm really pleased I decided that Bjorn was good before, when 2.0 came out, and I did have him a little bit higher. I did bottle it. It was around respect 11, my Bjorn, but it's currently respect 8. My Dane's Z7, I think, now, and Gandalf the White's respect 10, but he's kind of got my second damage kit. It's not a full set. I'd really like a Perseverance Palantir because I think it'd go really well with Bjorn's set. Bjorn shares this with Shadow. And then I've got Scalhelm. So Scalhelm's got my focus damage set. Again, I probably could have used a Grey Wizard's hat here, but I quite like the initiative and the unit defense. I just think it helps. A little bit of command as well. I have got 3 pieces of a Perseverance set with a Blazing Tongue here. I just need the pipe really, and I think that'll make a really good set for Scalhelm, in particular the way the damage sort of scales up. So that's formation 1. She switches her gear with the Witch King at the moment, because I've always wanted a Witch King and I've started running one. So just to sort of explain, again, you can see the gear just completely swaps over. I'm glad I've actually got the right equipment on Gimli there. I had a horrible thought I wasn't going to. So my Shadow is respect 11, Gimli is respect 11, I think, or 10, 11, yep. Witch King's 12, and Sauron is 5. I don't think you need to have him much more than that in this kind of formation. You can turn him a little bit hybrid if you get him up to sort of respect 10, 11, 12, something like that. Particularly a Z6 one is pretty impressive for doing both. But for me, I feel like he does his job at respect 5, and that as a second formation is pretty solid. Again, it's all damage, but as you can see, it is very much, I like to call it budget whaling, because I've got 4 pieces of kit that I switch across 2 formations. I've also been sweeping some mobs, and also I was taking some 90s with a different formation. So this is kind of like my third formation. A little bit of difference here, and this is where I think gear plays a part, particularly for farming. I had to pretty much fill these 2 up to make sure I'm not sustaining losses with the 1 troop stuff, which I'll come into in the farming bit. The gear on these is nothing special, it's just literally for sweeping mobs. I have enjoyed Saruman, considering when I was running him with some decent gear, he was putting out some good damage. But these 2 basically are just for defense, and then these 2 just for killing off the mob as fast as possible. For low level mobs, I've been using this formation as a bit of a damage formation, all with purple gear, all with 1 troop each. So I'm only losing 4 troops at a time, and I'm getting 7,500 grain and some experience for them, which is pretty cool, to be fair. I'm now up to level 20 mobs. I'm losing, but I can do it twice and use only 20 stamina, because mobs, you have to use the move feature. So it's working pretty well. It's allowing me to get some grain in, and doing that. I have got some leftover pieces of gear. This is for the Perseverance set I was talking about, and just a couple little bits, but most of my gear now is inside stuff, and then some bits left over, which I'd probably, if I could get an attack version of this or something like that, I probably would put that on Dane instead of the helmet that I've currently got. But I quite like the troop defense. I did have, I was sort of building a set really for troop support for, say, a Gil. I have just downgraded that at the moment, just for the simple reason that the helmet that I had here was only 4 stars, so I just made that 5-star and just thought I'm just going to run these for this season and see how it goes. I'll keep trying to build this set over time, so I've got some troop support gear, but I actually think purples do an okay job for that. There's some okay-ish purple pieces. I also, before this season started, got rid of pretty much everything but 5 sets of my purple gear. In fact, actually it was 8 sets of my purple gear. And the reason for that was I was just sick of looking at it more than anything else. I got rid of my blue gear as well before the season started. Just because it's not really doing anything for me. And what I did with it, because I'd sort of already optimised my gear to a degree, was I traded it all in and got, I think it was about 8 pieces of random worn equipment, which I've used to strengthen other pieces. So I felt that was a worthy trade. Where's oh, they've already taken this tile, or maybe not. See, so what so what's happened here, this brings a live example of what we're trying to do. So this person here has obviously decided that they want this tile for themselves. So they've actually stopped my march by surrounding the tile. So thanks for that. While I was on the way to it, so I can't progress anymore. And this will be quite interesting for battle mechanics going forward, because you'll be able to block certain tiles. But yeah, thanks for that. And I'm not using 2 lots of stamina, so I'll just find another 230 to hit so we can see what's going on. But yeah, thanks for allowing me to name and shame you on YouTube. Let's see if we can find another one anywhere near. See, that one would also be blocked. That one won't be blocked, but there's someone going there. Typical. So, as you can see, tiles are getting pretty sparse around here. Let's see if I can find another one before we carry on. It's a real pain now. That one's already taken. And okay, we can go for this one here. If I've still got a movement in me, I might not have any more movements left. Oh, it's just outside of the just outside the movement range, so I can't occupy that, but I could move there. That's a pain. So I might not actually be able to show you taking a tile after all. Let's see if there's anything that I can perhaps do like this. So I just search individually. Blocked. Being taken. Taken. That's out of range. Let's move on to stone. No suitable tiles. I bet there's no suitable ore tiles either. This one's surrounded, I think. Yeah. I bet there's no grain. There's never any grain. I bet that's way out of my range. Yeah, way out of my range. Okay, well, I guess we're not going to be taking a tile there then, because they've all been blocked off. Which it's a bit frustrating, but I get people kind of need something to aim towards also, and I won't go and just spoil that guy's fun by just taking it. So I'm pretty sure there was some 200s around that were sort of blocked off, but not by people intentionally. So that one's now taken by that guy, ironically. This is a handy little, I suppose, lesson in how to use the search feature. So again, this tile's surrounded. I'd have to take a 90 to get there. That one is not surrounded, but I presume it's taken. Yeah. I'll try one more search and I'll just give up and try and take the tile. I could go for that one, I suppose. I just don't really feel like I need any more stone. Stone! No. Okay. I'll leave that be. So that's kind of the pitfalls of the new march system as well. If you're already on the way, people can block you off like that, which I suppose is pretty cool, but frustrating when you're trying to level your commanders and grow your production. But I suppose I could be classed as being greedy trying to do that. I might take some oath breakers later on as well, but we'll see how that kind of goes as we go along. So what was I going to talk about next? That's sort of the new march system. The other problem that I've had, and I'm still waiting for customer support to answer this, is unless I gather 1 point at a time, like so, and watch my winding path because they're no longer straight lines. So unless I gather 1 point at a time, I don't actually get like all the resources. So say if it's 96k that's been gathered, I've been getting sort of 20k, which is, it's been a little bit weird to say the least. Well, I guess with us not being able to take that tile, it's probably time to talk about farming in general. I do have a few reports which will probably explain how sort of farming works in early season. So in early season, I tend to use the one troop on the damage commander type skill. which is what this is. So all these will have had one troop on each other. I haven't quite been brave enough this season to do it whereby Gandalf would also have one troop, because I don't want to fail on the tiles because they're so far away now, it seems. So what I do is I fill up my support com, or if you had a comp that had 2 support comms, I fill them up and then put one troop on these guys, and they tend to chew through anything up to a 150 because their commander healths just stick around, and then they recover that health. And I can do that with both formations. So again, same setup, one troop on each of them. But then I've also run into a different problem today. So for those of you that haven't done this new season yet, you have a different issue now. So if you are not in range of your keep, it now costs you stamina. I think it's 5 points to reinforce. And then I thought, well, this kind of sort of proves a different problem. So either I've got to go to a tile completely full. So I have a ruins up here, which I'm actually going to send Sauron to, because I know there's a load of 150s at the top. So we'll send Sauron here, and then I'll try and explain what I mean. So Sauron is off to my ruins, and I'm going to show you the formation that he's currently got. So you could do it, and what I did originally was I was sending him full. Well, as full as possible, really, because I haven't got too many troops early season, because I've been focused on buildings. Like I said, and this farming method doesn't really use too many troops unless you're being pretty stupid with it. So he's going to dance his way all the way around here and find his way in the best possible route. Now, the issue that I might have here is I might actually run into this guy wherever his line's coming from, because they cross over quite a lot. And the likelihood is I am actually going to hit him, but I think he's just pressed stop for that reason, because he's seen that I was going to hit him. So I could have shown you a real live example then of crossing path of wars, but I think I'd have probably won. So while Sauron's walking, you've got the option. So you can either send him completely full, or you can do what I've done here, and you can control the reinforcement a little bit more, because it's going to cost you 5 stamina each time, which is a pain, but you're going to get less troop losses. So either send them completely full and probably take 5 or 6 tiles of 130, 150, or a couple of 200s, whatever it might be, before you reinforce, because it's going to cost you stamina. Or you just need different troop types on these 3, and then you can control the reinforcement a lot more. So what will happen when this comes to reinforce is that it will try to, say if they were all the same unit, which is what I had before, it will max this one out, then max this one out, then max this one out, then max this one out, and it won't send 1 unit to each. Even if you say only got 3 units left in the barracks, if these were all knights, everyone loves them, use knights, it wouldn't send 1 to each commander, it would send 3 to the Witch King. So you can be quite wasteful, or you might not have enough to get across all of them. By running 3 different types like this, you can actually control it so you get 1 unit in each. And you can control it using another formation. So in my case, I have this formation here. And if I'm still on this video, I'll show you how it works. So Dwalin has got the knights. Bard has got the tier 2 troops, and Aragon King of Men has got the tier 1 troops. And basically I can control my barracks. Oh yeah, there you go, prime example. So it must be out of my keep. So prime example is it fills at 1, not all, like that. So what I can do is I can do this and leave it with 2 horses there. And I could go to Dwalin. I think it's going to make me put both of them on there. Yeah, it will. So at that point, you're probably going to have to lose 2 horses or on that formation by doing that. So what I would do is I control the flow so that I've got enough horses to fill see if we can explain again. So you control the flow of troops through that by having enough to completely fill Sauron, plus 1 or 2 for Gimli. And then you control the flow to only keep 1 out for Witch King, 1 out for Shadow. And then it will fill them all 1, 1 and 1, or 2, 2 and 2, because it doesn't really let you just do 1 sometimes. And you can continue to reinforce using this formation, but it will cost you 25 each time you take a tile. But your losses will be pretty minimal. I have done another farming video on 2.0 which kind of goes into that, which is a separate video, which will help, I think. And I think there's someone here trying to take my 90, which I'm not really too fussed about because I don't really need a 90, but it'd be nice if they asked. Dragor Corin. I could kill him off, but that's probably a little bit harsh. But then again, oh no, sorry, look, he's bouncing off my tile and then going along. It's a bit confusing with the march line sometimes. So that's kind of a little bit on farming. I always think you should push yourself on farming, but that method is pretty good. The new marching mechanics are pretty cool as well. I'll show you the size of the units in the army, like the sort of biggest one. We haven't got any colossal units or anything to show you yet, unfortunately, or flying units because we haven't unlocked them. So hopefully Sauron will just potter up there and I can send him to a tile afterwards. But yeah, that's kind of the reinforcing method, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, drop a comment and I'll try and make a separate video on easy ways to reinforce him with just 1 unit. And then I think that was pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about and show you. So I guess it's down to Mathoms. I'm going to do the just the rare treasures chest, I think. Inside, the trot rate is still the same as everyone else. So on my wish list, I have Bjorn, because I'd like to get him up, Sauron, Scalehelm, Saruman, because I am trying to build Saruman now. He's quite cool. And I've got Bard on there because I would quite like to run Bard. I think he's very much anti-meta at the moment with his physical damage reduction. So I would quite like to get him over a period of time. On the tier 2s, we've got Lurtz, Shadow and Gimli. Lurtz isn't too well built for me, I don't think, yet. I'd quite like to build him up. And then I do think it's a good idea to have at least 1 tier 1 from either side. And in this case, I've chosen the 2 damage dealers, really. Agzok, who I actually think has got, arguably, if you could get him high enough, some of the best damage skills in the game, because he's got actually 4 damage trees. And then for a bit of nostalgia, we've got Dwalin in here, who still kicks out some okayish damage. But I do think as far as a non-roleplay team goes, having Shadow, Gimli, Bjorn, and Dane for physical damage is pretty much as good as you can get. To my knowledge, you still get 1 gold item every 60 pulls. So I should get at least 1 gold item. I'd really like it to be either a Palantir with Perseverance, or just a Palantir in general. Or I'd quite like it to be Smoking Pipe. Fine Smoking Pipe with Perseverance would also be pretty good. So let's go. First 5, nothing too important. We've got some current respect, which I will be trading in for a Shadow one, I would imagine. Howl Dealer, Heaven loves one of them, and a Torn Urukai scribbling, so a little bit there for Saruman. I think he's at R3 at the moment, so every little helps. Third one, another invite, and it's Uglug. Everyone loves an Uglug invite, and another purple item, again for Uglug. Congratulations, Uglug, you'll be leveling up more than I intended today. Shadow item, and actually that could be quite useful for a Gandalf purple set, to be fair. A Carver with protection. Another, oh yeah, an Agzok one. Okay, that's good. Like a bit of that. And a Bard respect, even better. I think my Bard's only R1 at the moment, so again, every little helps as we slowly build him up over time. Nothing too important in those 5. Good old Hobbit Fiddle. A little bit more for Lurtz. That will be traded in. 3 item for Skalhelm. And here's the pull for gold items. Noldor sword. I mean, in fairness, we kind of need a Noldor sword. It's good for refining the Noldor sword we already have. Okay, that's fine. Nothing too constructive there. Again, get Gandalf on there. Some Saruman, Torn Urukai Scribblings. I feel myself getting impatient here and starting to click through as fast as I can. And finishing off with a Sauron item and a Horbeck. Okay, so that's the 17 Mathoms done. I'll probably open some more throughout the season. Let's have a look at that Noldor sword. Have we now got a couple, I think, to refine? Yeah, so I have now got 2. So I could refine the Noldor sword that I have. And I will... one shot for full refine. That's annoying. I think I've got one in one of the other items, so I might use a hammer. I've got 6 hammers waiting at the moment to go through and break stuff down as and when required. And I'll probably do a gear update video at some stage when I get around to doing that. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at the moment with this season. It's been quite an interesting start so far. There's lots of keeps taken for how sort of soon it's sort of happened, and it's been good fun. I think it's been a lot of friendly banter with a couple of the teams, a few of which we've known for quite a long time. So with that, I'm pretty sure that's everything that I wanted to cover. This was episode 1. Like I say, I'll try and do one every week or so minimum, I think, while we go through the season, and I'll hopefully have some PvP and some action as we go along. Just help all those people. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in. All support's really appreciated, and I'll still stick with it, but if in doubt, always follow your nose.